the 7 deadly sins. And you would have noticed as we have gone that these are not things which are called as sin. There are no laws against it, neither moral laws or social laws or legal laws. And yet they are considered as the deadly sins because these are the ones which actually lead us to those what we consider as sin and which the government and the laws of the land also punish. We consider sin like murder, stealing, speaking lies, taking away somebody's things. These are the things we consider as sin. But the sins we have been looking at and calling as the 7 deadly sins are, which is the very first one? Who remembers? Yeah? Anybody? Pride, yes. And I showed you the symbol for pride, which is I on top and you underneath me. And what was the second deadly sin? Anybody remembers? Anger. And here is the symbol for anger. And that is I in one corner, you in the other corner, and there is conflict between the two. And this is anger. And we looked at this. And then now you'll get an award from me. What was the third deadly sin that we looked at? Oh my goodness. That's so great. You actually listen. And we saw that envy is jealousy. Envy is feeling angry at what another person has and I don't have. And we saw that envy, it harms the body, it harms the spirit, it harms you terribly. And envy is called as a sin in the Bible. Now today I'll look at the 4th deadly sin. Now this is another thing which we don't consider as sin. The world doesn't consider it sin and there are no laws against it. Some people live to eat. Am I right? They don't eat to live, they live to eat. Yeah? You tell them, hey, take it easy, and they'll put more butter on their bread. Yeah? They are actually digging their grave with their spoon and fork and knife. Yeah? These are some people there are some people who boast, oh, we have super BMR, and we can eat anything, and we will never put on any weight. Yeah? I know of one person, now this was when I was young, and he had a band, orchestra rather, so he was the leader of an orchestra and they used to be invited for all these weddings and these big functions. And they get to eat after that. And in those days, he used to not only eat, he would take some chicken legs, put them in his pocket and bring them home. And one day I happened to be in that house and I saw him take out these from his pocket and I said, where have you got these from? Oh, he said, at the party. I bring them home for my mother. Yeah. So not only he would eat, but he would bring home for his family also. You know what this sin is called? Anybody take a guess? You got it. Gluttony. This sin is called gluttony. Gluttony. This same friend of mine, once he migrated to the USA, and once I went with him to a place and he said, I'll take you, Didi, to a place where you can eat as much as you want for $5. They have such restaurants there. So you pay $5, you take a plate and there are huge buffets and you can eat as much as you want to. And you know what he was doing? He was piling his plate and then he'll just take one bite, leave it, then go and take another plate and then pile it up again. And he was eating and I was watching. I said, how much can a person eat? How much can a person eat? And there are people, what they'll do is, when they run out of stomach, they'll go out, vomit, come back and eat some more. That is called the sin of gluttony. पेट तो भर गया, पर नियत नहीं भरी. Yeah? And this is being promoted in the media today, in the magazines today. Yeah? Better food, where to eat, what to eat. Yeah, just open and see the weekend papers. Yeah? Culture of comfort. That's what we are living in. Culture of overeating. That's what we are living in. And the creed is man will live by bread alone. This is the era of economic prosperity. This is an era when people are indulging their fleshly appetite. They are yielding in inordinate, excessive eating, drinking, revelry and wealth. And this is called gluttony. Sin that most of us commit, but few of us mention. No law in the world against it, forbidding it. Strongly denounced in the Bible. I'm going to read out few verses in the Bible which will tell you about this. In Philippians chapter 3 and verse 9, it says, 19, verse 19. He is speaking about people. He says, I have often told you before and now say it with tears, many live as enemies. Their destiny is destruction. Their God is their stomach. Their God is their stomach. They worship their stomach. They worship the food that they eat. Yeah? And then gluttony is called a sin. It's the physical expression of belief in materialism. It shows a lack of restraint against temperate and decency. They believe that eat, drink and be merry, because tomorrow in any case we are going to die. We read about one of the parables which the Lord Jesus told us in Luke and chapter 12. And this is about a man, and it says, a certain rich man produced good crop and thought to himself, what shall I do? I have no more place to store my things. Then I said, this is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns, build bigger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods, and I'll say to myself, now listen what he says to himself. You have plenty of good things laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. Yeah? Wow. They are drinking their way to happiness. People. Drunks. They think they are drinking their way to happiness. They are fighting their way to peace. They are spending their way to prosperity. They are enjoying their way to heaven. They think that they can fill their mind with rubbish. They can fill with their stomachs with trash. And they can starve their own souls, and yet they will go to heaven. In Deuteronomy, God said to Moses, when the people were in the desert, I allowed them to be deprived, and then I gave them food from heaven called manna, so that they may learn that man shall not live by bread alone. The Lord Jesus, when he was in the wilderness, in the desert, before he started his ministry, he was fasting. And it says that he was tempted. It says Satan said to him, oh, you can turn even stones into bread. Why don't you do that? And he said, man will not live by bread alone, but by every word which comes out from the mouth of God. Gluttony is a sin. God has given us appetites. When we overdo those appetites, they become sin. God has given us an appetite in our stomach so that our bodies may be healthy, we may have good growth, our stomachs may be full. But when we overdo that and when we overindulge it, it becomes a sin, and it's called gluttony. So gluttony is a perversion of the natural given appetite. Any perversion means a distortion, it means a spoiling of a natural, normal desire and appetite is sin. For example, love is a very natural thing which God has given us. But when we turn that love into lust, that's a sin. Self-respect is a very God-given quality to us. But when we turn it into pride and ambition, it is a sin. A normal hunger, when it is perverted into an abnormality, it becomes gluttony. And it harms the body, dulls the mind, stultifies the soul, and it becomes sin. Let me read out to you two verses. One is from Proverbs chapter 23 and verse 21, and it says here, drunkards and gluttons become poor.